is the Battle of Waterloo happening behind me. 207 years since Napoleon lost at the hands of the coalition forces. Now, Napoleon was a bit of a fussy eater. In fact, he didn't like to eat very much. He just wanted a roast chicken wrapped in paper, and that was fine if he'd eat it in the field. While Napoleon may have lost the battle, he did leave a long and lasting mark. So let's talk about the top 5 changes that Napoleon made to food history. Number 1. The invention of canning. How do you march an army of hundreds of thousands of troops across the continent when you have to keep them fed? Well, the answer is canning. In 1810, a chef called Nicolas Appert discovered that you could preserve food in tightly sealed glass jars. He preserved soups, fruits, vegetables, jams, and much more. This was perfect for marching armies where fresh food is simply not an option. For his efforts, Napoleon himself rewarded Appert with 12,000 francs, something about 50,000 euros today. If that wasn't enough, Appert would later go on to invent the stock cube. Number 2. The Sugar Beet. It might surprise you to learn that France is actually the 5th biggest exporter of sugar in the world, but it wasn't always this way. In fact, it wasn't even possible to grow sugar in Europe when Napoleon was emperor. To grow sugar, you needed sugar cane, which lives in tropical climates. At the time, both British and French sugarcane came from exploited Caribbean colonies, and it was expensive. Furthermore, when Britain and France went to war, Napoleon banned British goods from entering the continent, and the British blockaded French ports to stop any shipments from the Caribbean. The result? No sugar at all in Europe. So on the 18th of February, 1808, Napoleon wrote to food scientists encouraging research into a cane sugar substitute. Antoine-Augustin Parmentier was one of the first to take a crack at it. He tried to make sugar from grape juice, but it didn't work because the syrup was too thick and never crystallized. 3 years later, in 1811, the alternative was found. A naturalist called Benjamin Delessert developed a chemical process which extracts huge amounts of sugar from beetroot. The result was indistinguishable from sugarcane, and he received an honor from Napoleon for his work. Today, sugar beets make up 21% of all sugar production. In fact, if you're in Europe, chances are your sugar is from a beet. As an unintended consequence, the lack of sugar prompted Italian chocolate makers under French control to replace their cocoa and sugar with locally grown hazelnuts. Soon enough, that led to the creation of chocolate spread. Number 3. The abolition of the guilds. In the medieval era, crafts and artisanal professions across Europe were regulated heavily by guilds. For example, you could only open a bakery if you were a licensed baker at a guild. The French Revolution quickly did away with the guilds system in 1791. This liberated the labor market, opened up trade, and empowered ordinary citizens to enter into what were previously closed-off elitist professions. When Napoleon came to power, he entrenched this system. Over the next decade, he used his influence to abolish the guilds in his client states across Europe, namely Germany and the Netherlands. Even Britain followed suit and abolished guilds in 1799. As a result, this newfound liberty provoked a gastronomic revolution by spreading the knowledge of cookery and bringing better food to millions in the process. Number 4. The first celebrity chefs. The most famous was Antonin Carême. Carême was a poor kitchen boy in Paris when his work started to be noticed at the turn of the 19th century. But where does Napoleon come in? This enormous castle. Napoleon donated this estate to Carême's employer on the condition it became a gathering place for diplomats. Carême was hired to impress all those who visited France with elaborate haute cuisine dishes, a style which he pioneered. Carême systemized, rationalized, and professionalized French cuisine. He categorized the 4 mother sauces that we still know today, which became the basis of hundreds of dishes. He invented the millefeuille cake, the chef's hat. He perfected choux pastry, which led to profiteroles, and formed the basis of how kitchens should be run and how restaurants can actually make money. Last but not least, number 5, the potato. Napoleon's health minister, Antoine-Augustin Parmentier, the one who tried to make grape sugar, popularized the potato in European cooking. Brought over in the Columbian Exchange from Peru in the 1600s, most Europeans were hesitant to eat potatoes at first. They didn't know it was edible. They thought it caused leprosy. But Parmentier changed all of that with publicity stunts and cookbooks that shouted about the benefits of the potato. The effects on Europe cannot be underestimated. Studies reckon that the potato is responsible for around 25% of the population rise of Europe between 1700 and 1900. The potato powered the workers of the Industrial Revolution and accelerated urbanization. This was all thanks to Parmentier. Parmentier also propagated the first mandatory smallpox vaccination drive. When you sum it up, it's incredible to think that Napoleon was only on the throne for 15 years. And while Waterloo may have been the end of his empire, his short reign has left a never-ending influence on the way we cook and eat.